Hello guys. Okay, so welcome to my very first YouTube video. I've never done any YouTube video before, but due to so many people requesting, they want to actually learn what I do and how I do it, how I'm able to do my voicing, what are the requirements, what do you need as a poet, what do you need as a voiceover artist, what do you need as probably you're thinking of venturing into voiceover but as a freelancer. So let me begin by introducing myself. My name is Precious Owoko. I'm from Kenya. I have a, let's say I have a brand called Walking Shadow Poetry, which is known all over. You can find me on my socials at Walking Shadow Poetry Kenya. So what I do mainly, I am an author. I'm also a voiceover artist. I'm a poet and a spoken word artist. I've majored on modern day poetry. So what made me do what I do today? You see, the main motivation of what I do today is because there's so many people struggling with things, and there are so many people who are trying to maneuver around this life, and they're wondering how should they go about it. Someone has a brand, they've never started it because probably they have fear, and probably they want this perfect thing, or rather this perfect content, and they don't know how to achieve it. So I'll address that first because that is where most of the people are. So let's start. How do you deal with that fear? You have a brand, probably you have the idea, you have it planned out, you're planning to start up probably a YouTube channel, a TikTok account, a Facebook page, and you don't have the confidence to do so. Especially the people who do voicing. Sometimes you might listen to your voice and then you're like, I sound so bad. That one, I got you sorted. So this is the first thing you need to do. If you're struggling with appreciating your voice, or rather you're struggling with whenever you record your voice and then you hear it, you tend to make yourself feel as if it is sounding funny or it's sounding weird. Nobody starts a journey at a go. Nobody starts a journey like in one day and then you've achieved everything. In one day, your voice is perfect. You're sounding like that mentor of yours. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of practice. So, what can I advise you? First of all, start by reading things aloud, and you need to love reading. Now, that is where you don't escape. You need to love reading. You need to be someone who really loves reading, whether it's articles, whether it's novels, whether it's short stories, whether it's probably newspapers. You need to love reading. That is a thing that you cannot escape as a voiceover artist. So you need to start reading things aloud, practicing, exercising your sound, or rather your voice. You take an article, you just read it aloud, whether you're alone or whether you're with people. But I would really advise you start it when you're alone, because when you're with people, you might have this kind of friends who will discourage you, and you might have people around and make you freak out or rather shy off. So start by actually practicing when you are alone. Secondly, what do you do when you're scared with your voice? Because that is what you are. What you do, the second thing is always keep in mind that you are in a journey of progress. You're not in a journey of being perfect. You're in a journey of progress, and that progress is the one that will lead to perfection. So keep that in mind always. Remind yourself that I need to work on this. I need to be recording this. And then, thirdly, ensure that your pace is normal. Just use your normal voice. Don't exaggerate anything. I know there's this person you're looking up to and you really want to be like them, but it's so hard to fake something for so long. So what do? You need to have your own niche. You need to have your own voice, and that one you create by appreciating your own self, appreciating your own voice. So you practice with your own voice. The normal tone that you use while talking, start with that. Don't exaggerate anything. Don't overdo anything. Just start with that. Start with that normal tone that you normally use to talk. with. And then another thing, you need to also learn to exercise your breath control. How do you do that? We will be talking about it in my next video. But in the meantime, we're dealing with your fear, and you're dealing with the fact that you need to appreciate yourself and your voice, because no one will do it for you. You have that zeal, you have that passion. You're feeling I can be a good voiceover artist, but every time you do your voice, you really hate it, or rather you just put it. And some have gone to a point where they don't even voice it anymore. You have your poems, you have your pieces, you have your spoken words. They're just written. You know, sometimes people will appreciate your art, or rather your talent or your skill, when you yourself, you're able to present it out loud to them. In an era where so many people don't love reading, you will be really, really, really important, or rather you'll be really helpful to so many people. So start by exercising your voice, start by believing yourself, start by understanding that progress is better than success, and lastly, just know that you will make it. Don't fear, don't you fear. And probably now we are going to talk about the brand. You see, now the brand. You're a voiceover artist, you want your brand to be something. You need to first of all find out, what is your target. Are you targeting a wider audience, or are you targeting a specific group of people? Probably you want your audience to target men or women, or you want your audience to target just the whole society. You identify your target audience. The second thing that you need to do, you identify your strengths, because as a voiceover artist, probably your strengths are in more of kids characters, more than the adulthood voiceover thing, or the basis or the softness. You need to identify where your voice falls into. Are you the kind that do more of the basis kind of voices, or rather the powerful kind of voices, or are you the one that does the romantic soft kind of voices? You need to find your niche, your voice. Then the third thing, you need to start generating your own scripts. Stop waiting for someone to generate scripts for you. Start just thinking like you're doing a voiceover, a random shoe brand. So you write your script, you write it down, then you go through it, and then you start. Later on, I'll be teaching you on how to be scripting your various pieces for the voiceovers, or rather even for the poems. What are the requirements? Later I'll be teaching you about that. But don't you fear. Identify a name for your brand, a name that is rememberable. Yes, don't go for a name that is that someone cannot remember so easily. Like for mine, when you hear Walking Shadow, it is so easy for you to remember that name, because one, it's unique. Two, it's kind of, some people say it's a bit scary, and also it's just different. And then when you identify a name, or rather find a name for your brand, go online and search. Don't just come up with a name and then you just sit there and then say, I now have a brand. No, go online and search. Are there brands that exist with that name? Yes. Are there brands that have that name? Are there brands that are bearing that name? Then once you have searched online on Google or whatever you use for your searches, yeah, and then when you identify your name is unique, and sometimes it might be hard, sometimes you might find that name is not unique, so you can play around it. You can play around that name. If you really really love that name and you really want to use it, then you can play around it. You can either add a hashtag, you can either add or you can either add an underscore. You can really play. You can really, sorry, my mother tongue is just doing its thing. You can really play about that brand of yours. And then the name, you need to have a slogan, you need to have a goal. What is your goal? Yes, as a poet, as a voiceover artist, as a singer, but I'm not addressing singers right now. What is your goal? If your goal is helping people, like for mine, my goal is to help people grow from what is meant to kill them. So what is your goal? I will meet you again on my next video. In the meantime, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share my videos.